Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast. My name's Carrie.
I'm Emma.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, Emma. Oh, I'm Dean.
Dean's gonna tell us about something possibly weird.
It is strange. It's more one of our classic mysteries, our unexplained mysteries file. They don't always have to be weird. This one does have a pretty strong element of the weird to it, but it is also completely unexplained in a pretty amazing way. But Carrie, as we all know, has been seeking more stories that are uplifting, happy, fun. This is decidedly not that. As a matter of fact, if you don't like if you have triggers for violence, especially maybe violence on trans people, then skip it.
Skip this.
I will warn you, by the way, when that's just one section of it, and I'll say something beforehand, so you can just fast forward over that.
Also, it's okay to have a balance. You can be sad and depressing, and I'll be happy and uplifting.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. Perfect division of labor. Uh-huh. Let's start with the mystery itself. Branson Perry was 20 years old. He had coaxed his friend Jenna Crawford into coming over to the house and helping him clean up. It was in anticipation of his dad, Bob Perry, coming home from the hospital the next day. He had a procedure. He's going to be home. Hey, let's clean up the house for Dad. Will you come over and help me? She said yes.
Wow.
She came over.
What a nice kid.
Very nice kid. I believe that was a nice gesture. Out in front of the house, small house, by the way, we'll get to that in a minute, were two men working on Bob's car. The alternator had gone out the day before, so they were going to try to fix the car before he got home. Another very nice gesture.
Where are we in time and space?
We are in Skidmore, Missouri. I'll tell you more about that in a second.
Okie dokes.
At about 3 o'clock that afternoon, Jenna heard Branson exiting out the front door of the house. It's a small 2-story house. She was upstairs, still cleaning apparently. But she heard him leave. She heard the front door close. She called down through the window, which was right over the front door, and Branson answered back. He said, "I'm just going to return a pair of jumper cables to the shed," which is right at the side of the house. It's right next to it. Jenna went on her business cleaning up. It seemed like a little time went by, and still no Branson. He had not returned. So she went outside, took a look around the yard or in front of the house, and she did not see any sign of Branson. The two guys working on the car were still there. She asked them, "Have you guys seen Branson?" They said, "We haven't seen him." Jenna didn't think much of it at the time. She just thought Branson had maybe had an errand or he had something he had to attend to, whatever, and he just took off. He went off to do it and hadn't been back yet, so she got tired of waiting, and she just went home. But she didn't place a lot of importance on him not being there because really, how could she know at the time that she and anyone else would ever see Branson Perry again to this day?
No. So obviously pre-cell phone days.
2001.
Really?
Not pre-cell phone days. Skidmore, Missouri. Let's talk about place first before we talk about time, and I'll talk about his disappearance in more detail. That was just to wet your whistle. I'm teasing. So tease. So Skidmore, Missouri, the town. It's a tiny little isolated town in kind of the rolling wooded hills of northwest Missouri. But it's kind of famous. Have you ever heard of Skidmore, Missouri?
No.
You've heard of something that happened at Skidmore, Missouri. I'm positive. At least one thing, if not a couple things. The reason Skidmore, Missouri is kind of semi-famous are not good, though. The main reason is something that happened on July 10th, 1981. It was the extremely justifiable homicide of Ken McElroy. Does that ring a bell at all? Ken McElroy was a local bully.
Yeah. Is this one where, I've heard of it.
He was, just an outright thug. He was essentially a rural bully thug. He had avoided jail time over the years, despite accusations that included rape, theft, and assault, because no one was brave enough to cross him. He had this kind of goon posse. I think one of the things they did, they stole farm equipment from the surrounding area and other kind of just sleazy thieving things. And so he was a big threatening guy. He obviously had no problem going after people. So he would just witness intimidation. No one wanted to cross him. He had gotten away with all these crimes for years. And most recently, he had received a slap on the wrist from a local judge for shooting a 70-year-old grocer named Bo Bowenkamp in the neck.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
And got like this tiny nothing sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So something had to be done. So the town finally had just had enough on that hot summer of 1981 when Ken McElroy finished drinking at D&G Tavern. In the afternoon, broad daylight, he got into his truck with his petite wife, and suddenly he looked around and about 50 plus residents had just sort of milled around and were surrounding his truck. He was acting unafraid. He would rev the engine and act like he's just a badass and just sort of leering at them and daring them to do anything about it. Because he thought, I'm bulletproof. They can't touch me.
Yeah.
Turns out he wasn't bulletproof. Suddenly, from two different directions, I think from the front and the back, shots rang out, shooting Ken McElroy dead right there in the front seat of his truck.
Damn.
His wife was fine. His wife was unhurt. She was not the target. Over the years, to this day, this is 1981, over the years, despite McElroy's wife identifying who she said she saw fire a gun, I think she looked through the side mirror, and saw someone from behind shooting a gun, and she apparently identified that person. Despite that, the town held its silence and has to this day. Mm-hmm. It would never give up the perpetrators. 2 grand juries refused to indict the people that the 2 men that the authorities brought a case against, and there probably was enough evidence to indict. The town just took care of its own monster and moved on. Mm-hmm. Over 2 decades later, in 2004, in Skidmore, Missouri, the town was again dragged, I think, unwillingly into the national headlines when a deranged and abused woman murdered Bobby Joe Stinnett. And here's again, if you don't like something horribly violent, fast forward here real quick. But she strangled her in her own home, and then she cut her baby, her 7 or 8 month old fetus, or even 9 months, almost at term, out of her womb, and ran off with the baby.
Yeah, I know that story.
Bobby Joe to die.
Yeah.
The baby, luckily, thank God, was rescued 2 days later in Topeka, Kansas, in a motel, I think, and was returned safe and sound to its father.
Wow.
But it was a horrific story in Skidmore as well. The murderess, Lisa Montgomery, that was the woman who did this, she was executed recently by lethal injection on January 13th, 2021.
Oh,
wow.
Very recent. Wow.
So, and these are not the only incidents in Skidmore. The population of Skidmore is less than 300 now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, people
left. People are leaving every year.
Yeah.
I looked up the census thing. It got up to 500 something a few decades ago. It's been dwindling ever since.
Wow.
When the incidents we'll talk about here with Branson Perry, it had 350 or something like that. It's now under 300. So this tiny little town has had terrible things happening there. One of the most mysterious thing was the disappearance of Branson Perry. So let's go back. Branson Perry was born in 1981. So he was 20 years old at the time this takes place when he disappeared. He was living at home with his father, Bob Perry, who had recently divorced from his mother, Rebecca. She was with a name, and I don't know if it was right then she went by, but later she'd go by the name Rebecca Klino or Klino, Klino. But they were recently divorced just in, I think, November of 2000 had been divorced. So it was less than a year since his parents had divorced. They lived in Skidmore, lived on the west side at 304 West Oak Street, kind of the western edge there of this shrinking little farm town, about 100 miles or so north of Kansas City. Branson had graduated in 1989. He didn't have a regular job. He was just kind of figuring things out. By then, he was doing odd jobs like construction or roofing, and he also helped with a petting zoo that traveled the region. I don't know. He drove things around or just to help take care of the animals, but that was one of his odd jobs that he picked up now and again. He was about 5'9", 155, blue eyes, blonde hair, sort of a little bit of a slight build, and maybe a little short, but he lifted weights, and he was a black belt in Hapkido.
Oh, cool.
Martial art. He did suffer from something called tachycardia, which is a condition that can cause your heart to race very, very fast.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
But otherwise, he was, like I said, just a regular kid figuring things out. he was a cousin, by the way, a first cousin of Bobby Joe Stinnett, the woman who was horrifically murdered 3 years after he disappeared.
Oh my God.
She was still very much alive then on Wednesday, April 11th, 2001, when Branson invited his friend Jenna Crawford over to the house to help clean up. So again, just to recap that, Bob Perry had been in the hospital. He was due to come out on April 12th. The next day, they're going to clean up, and just in anticipation of him coming home, Jenna got there. They started cleaning. Okay, so Oak Street is a small little street. These are, think just regular little homes, but they're kind of sparsely. They're not every single. I mean, there's plenty of homes around there. It's not like it's not super isolated. It's not like acres and things like that in between homes, but it's also not densely packed.
Right.
Not every lot has a home on it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And the street's very small. The lawn wasn't that big. So these two guys who are working on Bob Perry's car are right there in front of the house. Yeah, I mean, clearly visible, and everything in the front of the house would be clearly visible to them. So again, the alternator had malfunctioned. They were going to try to get it worked before Bob got out of the hospital. Branson's mother, Becky Kleino, would later say that it was never clear who had asked those men to come over and work on the car. She didn't know and would never know if it was Bob or if it was Branson had got them to come over and do that, which seems odd to me since she could have asked her husband.
Yeah, that's weird.
Could nobody ask Bob?
I don't know what that means. I'm going to assume then it maybe was probably Branson who got them to come over and work on. Because it said the alternator conked out the day before, so that implies that Branson had been driving it around.
Right.
His dad was in the hospital when it conked out. So again, no source I read said this, but I'm assuming what that means is that he oh shit, I got to get my dad's car working. I'll get these two guys. Those two men also have never been publicly identified. No source I read said what their names were. The police know who they are.
Right.
But they've never publicly identified those two men.
I wonder why not.
And we don't know who got them over there. Again, it almost seems like it has to have been Branson.
Yeah, if nobody else knows, then that's kind of the only option.
Yeah, exactly. There were also a couple of events during that day that would, in hindsight, seem kind of odd. The first odd thing was when Branson went into the kitchen and Jenna heard him rummaging in the cabinets, clearly looking for something, trying to find something. He apparently took something out of there, and then he kind of hurried outside, almost ran outside through the front door and out. He returned. Jenna said, what was that about? What did you take out there? And he just ignored her, like, what are you talking about? And would never answer her question, acting like it was just nothing.
Huh.
Seems a little weird. Later on, Jenna took a shower, and I guess Branson must have been outside, and she got dressed, went into the kitchen downstairs, and she stumbled into one of the men outside, one of the people working in the car. He was in the kitchen, also searching through kitchen cabinets and drawers. So she asked him, what are you looking for? And he said nothing and walked outside. We'll come back to that.
That is odd.
Sometime not long after 3 p.m. that afternoon, Jenna heard Branson leaving through the front door. She was upstairs, as I mentioned. She's cleaning, so she shouted through the window, said, where you going? He shouted back, I'm going to return the jumper cables to the shed. And then he fell off the face of the earth.
Right.
Jenna thought very little of it, and she just left later on that sunny afternoon of October 11th, 2001. The next day, April. The next day, Branson's maternal grandmother, Joanne Stinnett, found out that her son, Bob, would not be leaving the hospital after all. So she went to the house to check on Branson, see if everything's okay, tell him your dad's not coming home yet.
Right.
She found the windows and doors open and a radio playing. Now, when it says that, I don't know that it can't mean that literally open. I just mean, I assume that means unlocked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I don't know.
I don't know, though. I don't know. It literally, the sources I read said open. So I don't know if that really literally means open or unlocked.
Yeah. I mean, it could be it's springtime. They're cleaning.
Maybe.
You open all the windows.
Yeah.
You got a screen door, so you leave the door open, and it's a teeny tiny little town. When Jenna left, she could have left everything open.
She could
thinking
have.
Branson's coming right back.
Yeah, I don't know. But also a radio playing?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think she'd leave a radio playing.
I wouldn't think so either.
And she also, of course, did not find Branson.
Right.
She's not terribly worried, though, but she comes back the next day. It's now Saturday, April 13th, and she again finds Branson's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's getting worried. She goes home. It's Saturday, April 13th still. She starts calling Branson's friends, and she discovers that no one's seen him. They haven't seen him for a couple of days. They don't know where he is. The next day, Sunday, she calls her son at the hospital. Bob then calls his ex-wife, Becky, and Becky lives about 20 miles away. So Becky says, I'll be there tomorrow morning. So she goes to the hospital on Monday morning, April 16th, and she picks up Bob from the hospital, and they go directly to the police, the sheriff's department, and they file a missing persons report for their son.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a minor. And despite that, though, the sheriff's department appears to take the situation very seriously. It did sound like he may be in trouble to them as well. So there's sheriff's deputies, then they called in the highway patrol. This is a very, very small, it's even a small county. It's called Nodaway County. And so they call in the state highway patrol to help, and they, do a major, major search of the area. They first go to the house, and they look around the house, and they find no obvious signs of foul play. But according to Bob, the dad, they also find no sign that Branson had taken any of his belongings. Nothing. His wallet, even his wallet, is in his bedroom there.
Yeah.
So he's taken nothing. Again, he walked to the door to supposedly put some jumper cables into the shed. Never seen again.
Yeah.
So the authorities, again, take it very seriously. I commend them. They searched farms and fields and woods all throughout the area. They searched the nearby river, local ponds, even wells, like on farms. Absolutely nothing. They found, nothing, not a scrap, not anything to do with Branson. They even searched oil wells and outhouses to see in places at that point they're thinking a body was dumped.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. So nothing.
Wow.
They also could not find the jumper cables that in the shed or anywhere else that Branson told Jenna he had gone to return.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
That's almost like he got intercepted on his way to the shed.
Potentially. Or he was going
or
to give those to it is weird that if he was going to the shed's right there on the side of the house. The two men working in the car, which presumably the jumper cables were for, they're trying to fix an alternator, were, not on the way. They were not on the way. So my understanding is they were working on it, not in like the driveway, but actually on the street in front of the house. The shed was on the side of the house, kind of like up the driveway where like a garage, sort of like a detached garage, I guess, kind of. There was just simply nothing. A very extensive search found absolutely nothing about Branson Perry. So let's first look at some questions here, because there's tons and tons of questions here, and please jump in because I don't think I've thought of all of them. So we're left with just these unanswered and almost sometimes it seems like unanswerable questions. For starters, why didn't Jenna come forward right away?
Yeah,
she really just think Branson, her friend, is going to leave her at his house
without saying
anything.
Take off,
without saying anything. You don't say I'm going to the shed to leave jumper cables. You say, oh, I got to go over to Bob's house, whatever. It seems very odd that she'd be so blasé about that and not think something more of it and not come. She didn't go to the police. It had to be his grandmother.
It's like they were hanging out.
Yeah.
And there was no, okay, we're done. Oh, you're going to leave. Well, I got to go get jumper cables anyway. Fully in the middle of hanging out, and he's just gone?
Just gone. And
I would be alerted immediately.
Or at the very least pissed.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's what I would be. I wouldn't immediately leap to something nefarious has happened to my friend. I would be like, that's rude. I would kind of do the same thing. How soon did she know he never came back?
Presumably not until Saturday when the grandma started calling friends. But still, okay, then. But why do you say, oh, I thought no big deal. He probably just, as opposed to tell the police, no, I was pissed off that he ditched me. It seems odd.
Do we know that she told the police?
Yeah, she told the police that she thought it was not a big deal, that he must have just gone over to someone, so I just left, no biggie.
Because she didn't. I get it. I don't.
I get maybe thinking, we don't know the dynamics of their friendship, so maybe it was like she's always over, so it's whatever, I can leave. She's at my house, no big deal. But if it is really 2001 and people have cell phones, you don't even call?
I don't know if he had a cell phone or not. It's no cell phone is ever mentioned. So I'm going to assume he did not have a cell phone.
2001
wasn't that common.
Yeah, not everybody.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was
and
one,
these were not affluent people.
And there may not have even been cell coverage
service.
where they live.
Rural Missouri.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never heard any mention of cell phone, so it was not an issue.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, do we know once the grandmother contacted her and she said, "Oh my gosh, no, I haven't seen him since I was at his house, and he left, and that's weird."
Yeah, she did say that.
At that point,
I don't know if she said it's weird or not, but but she did say, "No, I haven't seen him since Thursday when I was over there."
Yeah,
or Wednesday. So
I'm okay with Jen.
You're okay with that? Okay,
okay.
I think it's odd. I think it's odd that her reaction was to not. I don't know. Or call him the next day. What's up? What's going on? Or call him the day after that. She doesn't. Until the grandmother contacts her.
Do we know she didn't try to call him?
She
never mentioned it.
Again, I never heard anything that she mentioned. She tried to contact him.
That's the problem when we look into these kinds of things. We don't have a transcript of every question asked of every person and what their answers were. So she easily could have called. He didn't answer, and
I don't think she did though, because of the. You think that would appear in these various recountings of, including one that I read, but that was a lot of it was written by his mom.
Yeah.
It was pretty thorough, actually.
Yeah.
From Becky.
Oh, well, I have an issue with Becky. I'll drive over tomorrow morning. You're 20 miles away, Becky. If my 20-year-old was missing, I'd be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, I don't know what time it was Sunday, but she did drive over there to pick up her husband on the next morning.
Well, I would have not waited until the next morning. I would have been there. I don't care if it was midnight. I would have been there.
You're just a better mother than Becky. God,
that's
little judgy, Carrie. A little judgy.
No, I'm just saying, if we're gonna give Jenna,
I'm not. No, I'm just confused by Jenna's reaction more than anything else. I find it a little bit questionable.
Yeah.
So, how about the two men working on Bob's car?
Yeah, I want to know who they were.
Who the hell were they? Why do we know their names? Why have they never been identified? And who asked them to come over? And it's odd to me that his mother would never find out. And of course, obviously, if Branson did just leave under his own volition, I don't see how they could not have seen him. They said they didn't see anything. I mean, I know you're under the hood, you're in the front hood and you're looking down and you're concentrating, and he skulks off. But it's a small space. The lawn's not very big at all. The car would have been right there. It's just you couldn't avoid hearing him come out the door. And I mean, it's possible. They're just so absorbed in what they're doing. They don't, but it's a little unusual.
And could he have walked to the side, or could he have walked to the back, or you know what I mean? Could he have
to the back? I don't think so.
Done a wide berth around the front of the house?
Not really. No, he would have had to come out to the
exactly
sidewalk, and at that point, he would have been a few feet from them.
Yeah.
And if he turned left or right, fine. But he would have unless he was trying to avoid them. He
could have walked on the grass, Dean.
He could have. You're right.
Not everybody goes immediately to the sidewalk.
Yeah, but the pictures. Oh, it's gone. Damn it! The picture's on my computer of the front of the house, and it's a pretty small space.
Yeah.
So, but he could have. Jenna would later admit that she and Branson had recently begun to dabble in drugs a little bit.
What kind?
Weed and amphetamines.
Amphetamines, like
upper
Adderall?
Speed. Okay. I don't know exactly what, just weed and amphetamine. And Branson
probably
also
Adderall.
Probably, maybe, I don't know. Branson had a bottle of Valium. According to a family member, he had a bottle of Valium in his possession, so he could have taken that as well.
Yeah.
None of those things seem, like he's just going to go. Ooh.
Yeah. So he was an average 20-year-old.
Yeah.
That
basically.
Does weed and amphetamines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So beyond the possibility that Branson had, I don't know, some kind of an accident while delusionally high on this drug cocktail, which I find very unlikely, there were rumors that drugs were involved. Specifically that Branson owed some people some money who had dealt him drugs. That became a pretty prominent rumor and avenue of investigation almost immediately.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder further, to me at least, about those two guys fixing the car out front. Were those guys dealers? Is that how he knew him?
Yeah.
Is that how Branson, again, assuming Branson had them come over, was there some connection there with those guys? Or did they maybe know Brandon's source or something like that? Maybe they tipped off the Branson's source, and maybe they tipped off the bad guys, maybe? Something like that. Like, hey, I heard that kid owes some money. Let's, get in the good graces of the local drug dealers by telling where they can find him. Although that seems, it's at his house.
Yeah.
They know where he lives. But it could be something to do with those two guys. Obviously, this is pure speculation. It might, though, mean that Jenna had, in my opinion, a kind of a weird story and didn't come forward right away because she was scared.
True.
Because she had been warned off, or she understood what had happened to her friend and didn't want any part of that. Didn't want to wind up like him.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Yeah. What happened to the jumper cables? What the hell happened to the jumper cables that Brandon was going supposedly to return? Branson. God damn it. Sorry, my bad.
You said it 1,000 times.
I know, because I wrote it like that. I should do a research and repeat, even though I'm not even looking at these notes. So Branson was supposedly returning these jumper cables to the shed, which is just a few feet away from the front door. That might not seem like a big deal, me wondering what happened to the jumper cables. But what if I tell you that those jumper cables reappeared out of nowhere 2 weeks later, right there, just inside the door to the shed in plain sight?
That is weird. That
After
means
it had been
someone
checked.
came back to the house.
How'd they get there? If the killers had them, did the killers put them back? Why would they put them back? Why would they bring them back?
Why would they?
Yeah, that's a baffling one to me. It makes no sense.
Too bad this is pre-Ring doorbells too.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's unfortunate. So the case, it lay dormant and grew very, very cold. Then, almost exactly 2 years later, April 10th, 2003, the police arrest a man named Jack Wayne Rogers. They had gotten a tip from a victim of Rogers. Rogers was a 59-year-old Presbyterian minister and Boy Scout troop leader. He was also a monster. Rogers had here's where a little bit of a trigger for our trans listeners. Maybe skip forward 30 seconds or 60 seconds just to be safe.
Maybe I'll put timestamps in the show notes.
Okay.
Good idea.
Rogers had conned a trans person into allowing him, Rogers, to perform a gender reassignment surgery in a motel room.
Oh my God.
Rogers is not a doctor. The victim was just desperate. He couldn't afford the actual medical procedure. He said something like, I didn't have any other choice, or something like that. He was very desperate to have this done. Or the trans person, I don't know. Rogers, of course, not surprisingly, botched it. And the victim almost bled to death in the motel room.
I would imagine it was a pretext for Rogers to do harm to this individual as opposed to helping them.
Of course it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they went to the police, and the police arrested Rogers. In searching Rogers' belongings, they found horrific things, including child pornography, evidence of cannibalism, or at least talking about cannibalism, and lots of correspondence, bragging about horrific assaults and tortures by Rogers on victims. One of the incidents he wrote about, it's like like his journal or something like that, on his computer, I believe. One of those incidents was a story about picking up a young blonde male from Skidmore, Missouri, who was hitchhiking to leave town.
Wait, okay, where was Rogers? What town? Or
in the area. I don't know what town, but in Missouri.
Oh, okay. But not actually in Skidmore.
Not in Skidmore, no.
Okay.
Rogers boasted of torturing and murdering this kid and burying the body somewhere in the woods in the Ozarks. So they find that and they say, wow, we think we know who that is. That sure sounds a hell of a lot like Branson Perry. So the authorities question Rogers, and he says, it's all bullshit. It was just fantasy writing. That's the kind of thing I'm into. None of it's real, though. I never really did those things. And I know nothing about this disappearance of Branson Perry. Never had him. Show me a picture. Never met him. Don't know anything about it. So they said, hey, what about this turtle claw necklace we found in your house? That resembles a necklace that Branson Perry had. So they found a necklace, much like one that Branson had. They couldn't be sure that it actually was the exact necklace, but it sure looked like it. To Rogers, it didn't matter. He said, I nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with Branson Perry. I don't know anything about him. He would swear his innocence. Wow. Always. He still does. Still, despite that, though, remember Rogers was convicted of the assault on the trans person, convicted of illegal surgery, and is convicted for the pornography, the child pornography. In fact, he got a total cumulatively of 54 years in prison for all those crimes. He will be in jail until at least October 10th, 2028, at which point he'd be 83 years old, and hopefully he'll be dead by then.
Yeah.
In prison.
I hope so.
So that's the Rogers idea, right?
Okay.
As a possibility of having murders.
Yeah.
So Branson runs away and he gets murdered hitchhiking.
Yeah.
So let's consider theories what happened. Let's start with the one that the police apparently believe is the most likely, which is the drugs. The drug dealers, that they killed Branson because he owed them money. What do you think? I mean, just give me your initial thoughts on that.
I could see it if the drug theory could aid in the hitchhiking theory, like he was trying to get out of the town to escape some sort of harm.
Well, let's separate those two into two different things. Regardless of his
Okay.
motivation for leaving town, let's say no, it's more the drug thing is more like they came and got him and they took him away and did bad things to
I
him.
don't know. How much could he owe?
Drug dealers don't like you to owe them anything.
But
It makes them look bad if they don't just say, "Oh, you know what, skate."
Drug dealers murderers to every 20-year-old that
not every
hasn't-
20-year-old, but some could be. I think if for that to be true, it's more likely that he was deeper into drugs than anyone let
Yeah.
on. Because how much debt can you rack up buying weed and amphetamines? So yes, I'm sure drug dealers don't want you owing anything to them, but the stakes aren't as high with those drugs usually.
Would drug dealers really let you get that in debt to him for a kid that had odd jobs, though? Yeah, you can owe us $1,000. You can owe us $2,000. Well, you're good for it. He's not good for it.
No,
I mean,
right.
I don't think they would have. They would stop giving
Selling.
him drugs.
I don't know. I don't know that they give him any drugs on credit.
Exactly.
So how did you come to owe drug dealers money?
We don't know that he did.
But that's the
If that's the theory.
that was a very strong theory, and
Yeah.
the police for sure give it credence.
I mean, it could have been $50.
Yeah.
It could have been $50 and it all went haywire. They were trying to scare him and they ended up killing him. And oh shit, what do we do? That's if it's
possible.
drugs. That's what I could see happening.
Yeah.
If
But-
so, Jenna and those two mechanics, you almost think they'd have to be complicit or at least scared into not talking because drug dealers can't come into the house, kidnap a kid without them both seeing it. Almost certainly, she would have heard it and they would have seen it. I mean, how? Unless he was induced to go to wherever they were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which is possible.
it's very possible. It even would excuse or not excuse, but explain the reticence. Again, I know I may be putting too much into it, but Jenna's reticence again. If she knows that he was going over to a drug dealer's house, she might say, "I don't know where he's going," because she didn't want to get killed.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's only her story that he was returning
exactly. The
things to the shed.
It's a weird story though. So
and
it's
it is
possible
weird that they showed back up again.
I know.
Maybe she brought him back.
Maybe she put him
Maybe
back.
she did. Good one. Regardless, though, I think that the drug. I agree with you. The drug deal thing doesn't make sense unless he went to them.
Yeah.
And somehow, so I mean, maybe that's what he was doing. He was getting money from the kitchen cabinets. Remember the kitchen cabinets thing where he said nothing, ignored it. Maybe he's trying to get money or drugs or something of value. More likely money, I think. It's a hiding place or something.
Yeah.
Maybe his dad's, cash stash was there or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and now did he take it to the two men in working on the car? In other words, could he have even had jumper cables in his hand as an excuse? Because remember, if this is true, and Jenna doesn't know about this because he wouldn't answer Jenna's and with the mechanic guy later on. So maybe he's just got the jumper cables as an excuse to go talk to the guys, but he's really bringing whatever he got inside the kitchen to them. Again, whether that's money to buy drugs or something like that, I'm pure speculation.
Yeah.
Or he could have been getting something from the kitchen to bring to a house nearby that he's going to walk to. Again, a place where he knows he can go score some drugs. So it also could explain one of the guys working on the car. So in other words, if he said, "I just got this, from the kitchen or something like that. Here's $100 or something like that. Let's go score some weed," whatever. And something bad happened. They go back in the kitchen, look for more money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They know he's got a stash there, so that's what he was doing. That mechanic, I'm calling him a mechanic. He's not literally a mechanic, but the guy working in the car that Jenna found and stumbled into and interrupted while he was searching the kitchen. Why is he searching the kitchen? He
Yeah.
had to have some reason to believe there was something of value inside there.
Yeah.
And he was going to take it.
Correct.
Whether it's, again, money, drugs, something like that. So it could have been some kind of drug deal gone bad, whether it was right there between Branson and those two men, or whether he went to a house or something. I think both of those things are possible.
Yeah.
So that's the drug. Anything else you want to say about the drug angle?
Nah, not really.
Nope.
Then let's move on to the...
It's not high on my list.
It's not high on your list. Okay, then is high on your list that he just ran off and disappeared of his own volition?
No, because he'd take his wallet and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if he was motivated to clean the house for his father returning from the hospital and get his car working, I don't think they have such a bad relationship that he wants to skip town.
No, but speaking of motivation, I have something I should tell you.
Yeah,
Okay,
you do.
what?
It could have been motivated by something that had happened just a short time before. Branson, I think a couple of weeks prior to this, had been assaulted by a neighbor. The man was a 30-year-old or a 30-something-year-old man named Jason Bierman. I think he lived just across the street. Branson had gone up to his house to whatever, party, do some drugs, drink a little bit. This guy had roofied him.
Oh.
Or did something. He dosed him something with some kind of a drug, and Branson got pretty loopy.
Jesus Christ. Small town Missouri, what's going on?
Trigger warning. Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. Trigger warning. Yes,
This entire
trigger warning here.
episode is going to be a trigger
Yes,
warning.
it is. This is a trigger episode. The man, so Branson got really, intoxicated, and he took his clothes off and danced naked and then shaved his pubic hair. This guy, he then either passed out or not passed out. It's unclear which. And he was either sexually assaulted or engaged in some kind of a quote-unquote sexual activity. The guy would later admit to engaging in quote-unquote sexual activity with Branson that night. So this man
did he admit to roofing him, or was
he must have, because it's written as if
Right.
it's a certainty. He drugged him somehow, and Branson did things he maybe wouldn't.
So
have
it's all
done.
non-consensual, and it's
Yes.
all,
for
it's
sure.
all
sexual assault?
yes.
Yet this guy, so Branson woke up the next day. He's sobered up now, and he felt violated. He was very upset. He went and he told his dad. And he told him everything that had happened, including that he had
good
been
for
assaulted.
him.
Yeah, Bob was furious because Bob knew that his son Branson was gay.
Oh, okay.
Bob knew that, but he was still very angry. He felt that Jason had taken advantage of him.
Yeah.
He was only 20. He had drugged him, but he didn't go and confront Jason Bierman. And he also apparently, it's not clear. He must have gone to the police because police did question Bierman, but no charges were filed. And then after Branson disappeared, the police again questioned Bierman, but they quickly cleared him of any involvement in Branson's disappearance. But
Question.
Yes.
Was Branson out to the town or just his dad?
I don't know. That's a great question because it could have a lot to do. Okay, so I mean that's a perfect question. Did word get out? Maybe that incident got out, and he's just humiliated, and just
he's outed
embarrassed
in the worst way possible.
The worst possible way. Now all of a sudden, Skidmore knows that he's gay, and bad things happen to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something that could have, in small town rural Missouri, that can make his life just intolerable to stay there. And
It'd be nice to know what
I don't know.
The status of that was.
Yeah.
My guess is Jenna knew.
Yeah.
His dad knew. I don't know that anyone else
neighbor knew.
If I had it, well, the neighbor lured him over. Whether the neighbor knew, the neighbor probably did know.
Yeah.
So did he flee just out of humiliation, just wanted to get the hell out of Skidmore?
But again, he would take his wallet.
He would take,
You can't get very far with no money and no clothes and no transportation.
I mean, but it could also, again, I'm harping on it yet again, but it could be that Jenna was a little bit reticent to talk openly because she wanted to keep a secret. So he's leaving town, leaving everything behind, including his wallet, and he's going to start a better life in a place more accepting of him, and she's going to keep that secret. She's not going to tell anybody where he's going.
That doesn't make sense to me either because his father was accepting of him.
Yeah. Well, his father knew. I don't know how accepting he was. I'm not saying he wasn't. I just don't know.
Well, a non-accepting father would say, sorry that happened to you, son, but let's never talk about it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a non-accepting father
done.
probably wouldn't have gone to the police.
Nope.
And would...
because then he's outing
his
His son
yeah.
and him. And yeah.
And
I
would
wonder
she
how
stay?
Becky was.
Would she stay mom after it became a big deal? Because this became national headlines. Would she
Right.
really have not come forward and said, "Okay, he's going to New York,
Exactly.
whatever."
Once it snowballed into, okay, everyone's looking for him. Shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
I gotta.
he's alive. He's fine.
He's
he
alive,
just went
he's-
to California.
Exactly. So if she's hiding Brandon's secret, and if she's hiding a secret, something like that, and she knows what he really did, that he took off. Why the whole weird story about the jumper cables and things like that? Because that's going to draw attention to the weirdness of his. You just say, I just went home and he was there, and last I saw of him, I don't know what happened to him. You don't have this whole weird story of him walking out the door and disappearing off the face of the earth. That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't
that
think
brings attention.
Yeah. That's even lower on my list than drug dealers.
Yeah. It just doesn't track. It does seem like, well,
I mean, I am suspicious of the neighbor.
yeah.
Just because the police cleared him, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where was he?
Where was he?
I need to know what his alibi was.
You do.
Yes.
Some very officious there. The ultimately the runaway scenario just doesn't, like I said, it's why the strange story that draws attention? Why did he take absolutely nothing, not even his wallet? Not only that, he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
shorts and
That's
a t-shirt.
That's it. I know it's the summer, but Jesus.
It's not. It's April.
You're right. It's in fact the high of that day, 68.
Yeah.
So, because he's
And
wearing
the
shorts and a
low,
t-shirt because he's
yeah.
inside working on the
Yeah.
house. Are you really going to walk out the door forever
No,
in shorts and a t-shirt with
It's gonna
nothing
get
else?
cold.
He had no car, so he would have had to hitchhike.
Mm-hmm.
His family would say later he had never hitchhiked in his life, and it's not something he would do.
Yeah.
One or two sources I read said that he had access to a van. I don't know if that's maybe the petting zoo van. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter because the van was not missing. Whatever van that was, it wasn't missing when he disappeared. So he had to have left on foot if he left of his own volition. And would you do this at 3:00 in the afternoon?
No.
No.
Sunset can't be that far off. It's going to
Yeah.
be night time. Hitchhiking in the night is not super easy.
Yeah.
Or
In
running
shorts
away.
and a t-shirt.
In shorts and a t-shirt, yeah. So, and here's the other thing too. He was 20. He was an adult. He didn't have to run away very mysteriously. I know people do that, but he
Yeah.
didn't have to. He's a grown-up. He could have left
Yeah.
completely on, telling people definitely tell people where he's going, but he
Right.
could have made it clear, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of this
Yeah.
town. It's not tolerable anymore. And that could have, and you take your wallet and take everything you have.
Yes.
And if anything, you also try to get as much help from your family and friends to start a new life as you possibly can. You don't
Yeah.
just disappear in this incredibly inexplicable circumstance. So if he did leave town, though, for whatever reason, then we'll go to the next theory, which is he was killed by Rogers. So he tried to hitchhike
Yeah.
Right.
out of town, and this monster predator pedophile picks him up and does terrible things to us and kill him. Remember, don't forget the necklace. What do we think of the Rogers angle?
That's a strong possibility.
That is. It's almost too coincidental that you have a necklace that he appeared to have owned, and you have it's confirmed that you are a monster and you've done monstrous things, but you just so happen to write fictional stories of abducting someone.
And Roger specified Skidmore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
yeah,
That is odd.
that's
Yeah.
a little
But
too coincidental.
You know what it doesn't answer? It doesn't. How do we get Branson out there? Because we've all
Yeah.
agreed his running away of his own volition is inexplicable. It doesn't make any sense. So
We
we have
don't
to
know.
get him out to the hitchhiking. to
That's
the
a
highway.
tiny detail that we'll never know.
That's not a tiny detail. That's a critical detail.
I know, but maybe he went outside, realized, oh, we need more Windex. Oh, I don't have a car. Walk down to the Stop and Shop. This nice older white guy
I'm
in a Ford LTD pulls up and says, "Hey,
Wow.
where are you going?
Terry knows
I'll
the
give you a
car.
ride." See?
I'm not positive, but I'm fairly sure it was on the highway. Not Skidmore is not on a main highway. It has a street, a rural byway going through it. It's not on like an interstate or anything like that at all. It's a town of 300 people. The chances of that guy being there trolling for a victim in Skidmore is zero. He was
well,
he picked a guy up on a highway, so you have to
He
get
said
Branson
he
to the
picked-
highway. Yes, he didn't pick him like in the middle of Skidmore.
But he said
a kid
Skidmore.
from Skidmore.
Oh.
So they were talking. So this kid, I picked it on the highway. This kid from Skidmore, and I killed him.
Oh.
the chances of him, like what you said. So in other words, if he's walking to someplace, he's walking someplace in Skidmore. There's a store in Skidmore. That doesn't get him to the highway. We need to get him to the highway, and that doesn't make any sense.
Maybe we can connect the drugs to this.
Sure, yes. Anybody can make up a story to get him there.
A story we believe. You're not a defense lawyer who makes up stories to get their client off.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Anybody can make up a story, but we'll never know.
For sure, we'll never know.
I think there is some odd scenario that got him, for whatever reason, hitchhiking or on a highway.
Yeah.
And the probability of this guy being the killer seems relatively high.
For what it's worth, Becky, Branson's mom, she attended Rogers' trials and begged him publicly, just tell me where you buried my son.
Yeah.
He never relented. He always said, I didn't hurt your son. He was convicted again of the other crimes and sent to prison. And even after prison, he still continued to say he had a 54-year sentence he's looking at. And he said, I didn't kill your son. Eventually, Becky came to believe him. And that she became convinced he did not kill her son.
I wouldn't believe him. This is Missouri. He's not going down for murder yet. Why would he admit to a murder?
Why would he?
He wouldn't.
That's true. That's true. But she said, for what it's worth, she said, I believe someone in that area knows what happened to Branson. In my heart, I don't believe Rogers is responsible.
Someone has to know. It makes
of course, no question.
Obviously, someone knows. No question. But
the sheriff's department has never ruled out Rogers entirely, but today, and they don't think it's likely that he did it. And they are focusing much, much more on the drug angle. So how about something not related to drugs, but still something bad that happened that day? This is, again, I'll admit, 100% speculation, but maybe Branson got into a fight with those two guys fixing his dad's car in some sense, in some way. Who knows? Not a drug thing even, or maybe it was drug related, but that he got into a fight and, something happened. There's an altercation and he had tachycardia. I'm not a doctor, a medical doctor, but could they not push him, something like that? He has tachycardia and he dies accidentally. So no intent to kill, no intent to harm him like that. But there's some kind of altercation and the heart condition causes him to die. So then the two men are going, I don't want to go down for murder. We didn't mean to do this, but we're still going to hide his body. And that, Jenna could have even been cooperative. She could have, I know you guys didn't mean to hurt him like that. I don't know. Or not. Or she knew nothing about it. But anyway, they accidentally, just an altercation led to an accidental death and they got rid of the body.
Yeah.
When you first started telling the story and you said the guy's working on the car, Jenna came out, oh, where is he? I did think to myself, maybe the two guys had something to do with it and they stuck his body in the car.
Maybe.
And when Jenna came out, where is he? I don't know.
Or in their own car, because they're working on Bob's non-working car. I'm sure they had to drive over there. So they stuck the body in their trunk. But if that's true, you leave immediately. They were still there when Jenna came out and asked them if they had seen Branson. So I don't know. That's odd.
Yeah.
It's odd, but I did think that when you first started talking about the story.
But, it does leave us still back to the drug angle, which the police think it is. You would think if it was local drug dealers dealing justice, though, that it'd just be an open secret in Skidmore. Everyone knows, we know the guy who killed him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe it is, though, because, again, the sheriffs think it is drug-related. And I think, I get this, they're not super open about it, but I feel like they think they know who did it.
Yeah.
But
if
they don't have the evidence.
so locked in on something, maybe there's stuff we don't know.
Running away voluntarily just seems almost the least likely in my mind, given the circumstances, which I think blows a hole in the Rogers theory because I don't see how you get him out to the highway. So, or maybe there was some kind of a drug errand, like those two men said, "Hey, we got some cash. You got a little bit of cash. Go get some drugs." And then something happened. He's buying drugs, hanging out, smoking a joint. Something happens. He pisses somebody off, and they pop him.
Right.
And they kill him. It's nothing planned. It's nothing but... So he runs out. He doesn't tell Jenna because he's going to be gone for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes max. No big deal. He doesn't... And something happened when he went on this errand and he was killed and they hit his body.
Yeah.
To me, that's just something mundane like that. Because it's not
Yeah.
drug dealers going to get back at him for owing them money.
Right.
But just something like he goes and he buys drugs and he just says something.
Yeah.
He says something that
Wrong
pisses
place,
somebody
wrong
off.
time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Or he sees something he couldn't see. Who knows? But that, to me, total speculation, but that, to me, something along those lines makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And again, they know he, maybe because he didn't come back And the two guys out there, hey, he had half our money. What, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why they go inside and start looking for money because he owes him $50 that he just took. So I don't know. That could explain. So it could explain him disappearing. It could explain him not telling Jenna where he's going. It could explain why that man was in the kitchen looking for stuff. It could explain why Branson was in the kitchen rummaging and finding something and being dishonest to Jenna about what he had just done. So, and then remember the jumper cables?
Yeah.
Who else but those guys? So he does bring them jumper cables, right? And then he says, here's my 50, give me your 50, I'll go get the drugs. And then he doesn't come back, and the guys have jumper cables in their car and go, oh, shit, we have jumper cables. Those are Branson's jumper cables. That's going to make us look guilty. They could either toss them somewhere and hope they're never found, or they can put them back in that shed 2 weeks later and just make sure they wipe them.
Yeah.
and that's the least suspicious thing.
They don't know what he told Jenna or what
They
Jenna
have no
told,
idea.
Yeah.
They just don't want something that belonged to this mysterious kid that's probably been killed.
Yeah,
so
that's a good explanation for that.
That's and again, if he left voluntarily, I just feel like they would have seen him. So in this situation, in this speculation, they know exactly where he was going, but they ain't telling no one.
Right.
Because where he's going was a dangerous
Or
drug dealer.
maybe they did tell the police.
Maybe
the police aren't right. And
you're right.
Ooh,
maybe that's why they have never been identified.
Correct.
Because
they'd end up being witnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So as we said, lots of questions. None of them with an obvious answer. Bob Perry, his father, died in 2004.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Not very long
Not
after.
long at all. Becky.
He couldn't have been very old.
No, I think he had poor health, though.
Yeah,
he was in the hospital.
He was just in the hospital.
Becky finally lost her battle with melanoma in 2011, 8 years after her son disappeared.
Poor family.
The search goes on, though. Gail McMurray, she's Branson's aunt. She said, quote, someone knows something. I promised his dad and grandparents that I would never give up on finding Branson. Today, there's a group founded by a woman named Monica Kaysen, and it's called the Community United Effort Center for Missing Children. QCMC. It's still looking, that group and Kaysen are still looking for Branson. Today, Kaysen says, quote, law enforcement's not giving up. I know the family's not giving up, and I know we haven't. We just continue to try to keep his face out there in hopes that somebody will come forth with some good information that will lead actually to a recovery. Branson's disappearance is still an open case. The Nottoway County Sheriff, led by the Sheriff Randy Strong, is still looking into it. They think the drug angle is the most likely answer. But again, still no arrests have been made over 20 years after Branson disappeared. The case just gets colder every year.
And clearly he was an only child, right? No siblings.
Yes, he was.
Darn it.
So that is the not uplifting,
No, not
at times
all.
horrific story
very
of Branson
horrific
Perry.
and devastating, and I wish his family could have peace.
So do I. It's just such a strange circumstance around it that
Yeah.
and it is. They're right. There's something, no question whatsoever, that people know what happened. He didn't just leave of his own volition and something bad happened to him. I think that's almost certainly not true, given given all the specifics of the case and again, what he's wearing, what he didn't bring, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, like I said, pure speculation, but some kind of an errand, probably to buy drugs, probably with the knowledge of those two guys, I think, and the mechanics that led to something bad happening somewhere else in Skidmore. And we'll never find his body unless someone comes forward and says, and those the kind of people who don't come forward and say what happened.
Correct, yeah. Well, set a Google alert.
Yes.
For his name, so that if any updates come in the case.
Okay. I will not do that, so you can.
You did. I know. We've talked about Google alerts before.
I'm aware that they exist. That's about it.
I'll have to that one. How do you spell his last name?
Perry, Perry.
Okay, gotcha.
First name Branson. He's the other Branson in Missouri. That's the story of Branson Perry. Hopefully, we'll be able to update that in the not too distant future.
Yeah,
Never know.
Hopefully. Okay,
Thank you for listening. Until next time, we'll have a Carrie story that won't be so sad. See ya.
Bye.